Without further delay, I'd like to introduce our panelists. So directly to my right, we have Michael Bianchi, who's Events and Services Representative with Sports and Rec at York University. And to his right, we have Karon Cross, who's Corporate Health and Safety Advisor with Rogers Communications. To her right is Risha Raja, who's an occupational therapist at Toronto East General Hospital. And next to her is Joey Shillolo. He's a personal trainer with Good Life Fitness and also Darby Training Systems. I'll give you all a chance to introduce yourselves too. And next to Joey is Lindsay Siple, projects leader at OFIA. So just to get the discussion started, I'll ask each of you to introduce yourselves because I'm sure you've got more to say. And tell us briefly about your role and your key responsibilities within your current organizations. So let's start with Michael.
All right. I'm Michael. I'm currently here at York in the Sport and Recreation Department as event and services rep for the department. And basically that means any varsity sporting event on campus or any outside renter that uses our sports facilities kind of goes through me and my team that puts it all together. So I look after stuff in terms of game day setup, game day execution, make sure all the rules, regulations are followed in the leagues. So if you've ever been to a basketball game here, or a football game, hockey, soccer, we make sure that everything's in place and operating as it should be. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, basically my job is every day I show up and I do a sporting event kind of thing. So if you like sports, which is what I do, and I find it to be the perfect field for me. I've had a lot of opportunities elsewhere as well. This past summer I worked for FIFA. With my job here at York, we get a lot of time off in the summertime because we work so hard during the school year. So I was able to take a leave during the summer and did a 3-month contract with them for this past summer. We hosted the Women's Under 20 World Cup here in Canada. So I was overseeing the BMO field, making sure it met FIFA standards and FIFA's protocol. So that was definitely a really cool experience. Prior to that, I've been with Ontario University Athletics, so the league that oversees all university sports, just overseeing all the rules, regulations, scheduling, and programming. And I've basically been in sports ever since I graduated. It all started because I did an internship with Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment during my final year here. York used to have a program called the Sport Administration Program, certificate program. And I think there's a few other panelists that were also in that program. And that allows us to, we did have to do extra courses to get that certificate program, but it also allowed us to volunteer a lot of sporting events, allowed us to take internships as part of our requirement. So fortunately through that program, I was able to intern with MLS&E, and I was the event operations for BMO Field during its first season. So it was definitely really cool. Toronto FC's first season was a huge success at the box office, not so much on the field, but every game was packed and it was a lot of fun to be there. And then, yeah, just staying connected to the sporting community and making a few sacrifices along the way to get to where I am now. But it's all about attacking it the same way I attack sports as an athlete, which is with dedication and commitment. So yeah, it's just a little brief summary about myself.
Okay, thank you. Karon?
Hi everyone, my name is Karon Cross. As Liz mentioned, I am a health and safety advisor at Rogers Communication. I graduated from York in 2004. It's been a while and it looks the same yet different. A lot more buildings now than when I was here, but it looks great. And I currently have been with Rogers Communications for 9 years. I started at Rogers as a training coordinator, a health and safety training coordinator, and since then I've progressed through different roles until my role now, which is a corporate health and safety advisor. It has been very interesting. I was very green when I started with Rogers and started in the corporate world. Very, very green. So for me now in the position that I'm in, there was a lot of growth, there was a lot of mistakes, there's a lot of successes, but it has been a real learning path. My responsibility at Rogers as an advisor is twofold. First of all, it's to take care of the company's due diligence when it comes to the safety of workers, as well as making sure that their liability is covered. The second part is making sure that when employees come to work every day, that they feel safe and secure to do the work that they need to do without the possibility of injury, of having to cut corners, because there's a pressure and a stress to do that, which can lead to injuries. When I first started, I was a kinesiologist. I worked as a kinesiologist prior to Rogers. And I thought while I was there, perhaps I could do something on the flip side before people get injured. And that's where it led me into health and safety. Actually, to be perfectly honest with you, I was looking for a new job, and when I looked on Workopolis, health and safety had a bunch of jobs there. That's the honest truth. And so that's got me into researching really what is health and safety. Am I qualified to be in that profession? And how do I get into it? And it just so happened that my first interview happened to be with a manager who knew one of the professors here at York, and we connected very well on that. So that's a little bit about my job, a little bit of my history, and we can chat a little bit more.
Perfect. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So I'm an occupational therapist at Toronto East General Hospital. I recently started this position in May, so it is relatively new, but I've been working as an occupational therapist for a few years. So my role on the team is I work within an outreach setting. So we provide services to clients with severe and persistent mental illness, and I work on an interdisciplinary team. Which is great. And so it's more of a medical model based team, making sure our clients are taking their medications and their health and well-being is taken care of. And it is also a forensic act team. So that means that we have a lot of clients that have previously committed crimes for which they have been pardoned. And just kind of making sure they're on the right path and making sure they're doing what they need to be doing to stay healthy and well. But the job is great because it allows me to be in the community. So we see clients in their home. We see them sometimes in the office. My role specifically as an OT is to make sure they're able to be healthy with their daily activities. So whatever they need help in terms of their personal care, hygiene, sort of daily living skills. Previously to that, I was working within a housing setting as an OT for women with, once again, mental illness as well as substance use issues, which was very, very, very challenging. But it was a great experience. And then prior to that, I started my career off working in the school and home setting. So I worked with children with learning disabilities as well as physical disabilities. So that's sort of where I started. I guess I graduated in 2007, but entered the OT program right away. So I never worked as a kinesiologist, but I know this program opened up the opportunity for me to learn what professions are out there in the world of health science. So, yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Joey. I'm a trainer. I've been a trainer for about 10 years actually. So first 5 years was in the military, and last 5 years been downtown Toronto at Good Life Fitness. So as a trainer, actually, it's kind of the best thing I like about my job. There's so many different avenues. So for example, the training aspect of things, I have a roster of about 10 to 15 clients that I see regularly. So that's kind of like the bulk of my income and my days, seeing my clients and just helping them be fit. A lot of them are corporate execs. And I also run a boot camp, which is based on my military Afghanistan experience as well, was like a group setting. And then recently I've got involved into more of a teaching role. So I teach for Good Life Fitness. That's a Good Life Personal Training Institute. So all new trainers that come in, I teach them like curriculum and basically the nuts and bolts of how to be a trainer. And then I also teach for Darby Training Systems as well, which is another avenue certification course for functional assessment and program design. And recently too, I'm doing a retreat with my sister, so it's a yoga fitness retreat. So I've got multiple things going on, and I think that's the best thing I love about my career is it's exciting and I can change paths or directions when I want, kind of thing.
Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Lindsay Siple. I'm a projects leader at OPHEA, and OPHEA is a not-for-profit organization, the Ontario Physical and Health Education Association, and we develop a variety of supports which help support individuals who work with children and youth, predominantly in the education system. So we would develop, for example, resources that educators can use, that school board administrators can use, as well as those who may also be dealing with the children and youth, not directly in education, but perhaps through public health or through sport and recreation. And as a projects leader, I'm responsible for ensuring deliverables are met. We're project-based, so we have a variety of different projects that are related to different facets of health. Some of them might be physical activity related. We do healthy eating. We have diabetes awareness, substance use and abuse prevention, asthma awareness, a variety of health-related topics. And then through my role with OPHEA, I also work for an organization called PARC, which is the Physical Activity Resource Center. And we support physical activity promoters within the province of Ontario, and these could be individuals who work within public health, community health centers, sport and rec again, as well as family health teams, and we develop resources to help them support the work that they do. So some of the examples of resources we have are a poster series that could help create awareness about the importance of physical activity. We also have a webinar series where every month we have a different webinar. One that we recently did was about the Active Healthy Kids Canada report card for children and youth. And upcoming, we have a webinar on physical activity and the older adult audience. And the main difference kind of between OPHEA and PARC is that PARC works across the lifespan. So we have programming for early years prenatal all the way up to older adults.
Wonderful. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. And because there are so many people in the room, I'm sure there are lots of questions. So I'd like to open up the floor to questions right away. So if anyone does have a question for one of the panelists, I'd invite you to stand up so that everyone can hear your question. And just let us know if you're directing your question to just one of the panelists or the full panel. And we do ask you to keep your questions just broad enough that, that everyone will benefit from hearing the answer. So who would like to ask a question? Yes, in the red.
Did you guys just do 4 years of kinesiology, or did you do a program after that extended your skills or something like that?
Okay, and that's a question for all of the panelists?
Yes, for all.
Okay, great. Would you like to start?
Sure. Yeah, so like I mentioned, I did a Bachelor of Science degree here through kinesiology, like the regular 4-year program, but after my second year of kinesiology, I applied and got into the Sport Administration Certificate program here, which fortunately isn't offered here anymore. So on top of my kinesiology degree, I was doing that certificate program at the same time. So altogether it took me 5 years to graduate. But the last year was just basically my internship and a thesis, which were the requirements of the program, along with a few other extra courses as well that they wanted.
The running joke with my life is that my friends always say, you're always in school. I'm always taking a course. I am always doing something. So yes, after I graduated from kinesiology, I went on to do a certificate program at Ryerson University in occupational health and safety. After that, I decided that I wanted to formalize my occupational health and safety education and my role. So I studied and I got my CRSP, which is the Canadian Registered Safety Professional designation. And then, as I took a little bit of a break, it was a year or two. And right now, as I went through my career and I started working more and I got into more project space and worked more in HR, my goal now is to complete my master's in HR. And that's just so that I can move on a little bit broader in my career, not be so specific within health and safety, but to be a little bit broader within the HR spectrum.
So right after I finished here, I actually did my master's, as occupational therapy requires a master's degree. So I actually went down to Florida to do that. So yeah, that was about 2.5-year program.
I have a fairly convoluted way of how I got to where I am. When I was 19, I actually went to school for fitness and leisure management up in Sudbury. And, I graduated that, and then after that, I'm from a small town. I was like, well, I'm not going to work at the Y for like $7 an hour kind of thing. So all my friends at the time were taking tool and die and mechanical engineering. So I kind of just jumped on that boat for a while. And I finished it, and I realized like I hated doing that. Like it wasn't congruent with myself, even though I could have made more money at the time or in the future kind of thing. And at the time, a girl I was dating, she sent my application into the military, and I turned out getting hired there. So I started working for the military as a trainer and all that stuff. And within the first few months, I realized, okay, I'm on the right path now. And to really make a difference in this industry, I have to go to York. So I started commuting, still working full time in the military, all the way down to York, and working on my kinesiology degree. And then within 2.5 years, I said to my boss, I can't do this anymore. I had no life. I was just school, work, that was it for 2.5 years. And then I went to Afghanistan for 6 months to kind of take a break in theory, but that wasn't a break. But what I'm saying is it allowed me to be a full-time student, and my full intention was to come back, get my degree so I could be in management for the military. And I realized because I was synergistically working at school and applying the stuff on the floor with the soldiers and everything, I wanted to be a trainer. Like that personal connection was missing kind of thing. I didn't want to sit in a desk all day. And so at the time when I was graduating, a student I was working with or went to school with here, he says, "Oh, come train with me." He just got hired as manager kind of thing. So it was like one of the best things that ever happened was switching gears while I was here to be a trainer. And I've been downtown as a trainer for 5 years kind of thing. So the moral of the story is just always staying true, know what your passion is. Stay focused on it. Don't deviate. Don't drift off because there's more money, because that's gonna be very short-sighted. And specifically to me, since I've graduated, which was 5 years ago ish, I've invested probably $30,000 in just personal education. Like as a trainer, there's all kinds of certifications you can take, so it never ends. Like that's honestly I didn't know. Like I wasn't a good trainer when I graduated just because I had a kin degree. All the education came from me following my interest about specifically being a trainer and a good trainer.
All right, so as has been mentioned by some previous panelists, I as well was part of the Sport Administration Certificate Program here at York. And I came to York studying kinesiology. I was really into sports, really into athletics. I played varsity volleyball while I was here. And I wanted to look at the prospect of kind of turning that into something a bit broader rather than just playing sports, and came across the certificate program and was accepted into that going into my 3rd year of kinesiology. Through that, I was also a member of a student organization called USA, which was the York University Sport Administration Association, and through that I got a lot of hands-on experience just related to event management and sport marketing. And through this sport administration certificate, part of the requirements to graduate were that you had to do an internship, a placement. And that is how I actually came across the organization that I'm currently with, OFIA, because I did have an interest in health promotion. And it was actually, I was taking a 3rd year course when I'd heard a statistic that today's generation of children currently has a shorter lifespan than their parents. And that just totally blew me away. And I was like, I want to get involved in something that's going to impact this. And that's what set me on the path to getting involved with health promotion. And through the certificate program, I was able to do an internship with OFIA, and then when it came time to graduate, there was thankfully a spot available for me, and I've just kind of continued to work my way up. But always, education is always something that I'm continually doing. I've taken courses on project management. I'm working on some things in the adult education world. And just always attending conferences, getting that experience. I think it's really important to continue to build your knowledge and your skill base so that you are continually relevant to your employer. I can start by answering that one by just saying that I have a BA, so I'm certainly not going to knock that. I found that for me it wasn't so much the letters after your name as the experience that you're bringing and the skills that you have. So regardless of, if you had more arts credits versus science credits, I think as long as you have the skills that are relevant to the employer, the letters don't matter. Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have anything to to add about the difference between a BA and a BSc in kinesiology?
Am I the only BA here?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I just don't have anything to add but what you said.
Okay.
Yeah, I've in my role, I see a lot of resumes come across my desk, and no, it doesn't really matter if it's a BA or BSc, to be perfectly honest with you. What does matter is the actual program. So are you a kin student? Are you a health sciences major, psychology, whatever it is, that's what really matters, not really the BSc or the BA. It's really what and how you come across in the interview, but not really that designation.
Okay. So in your experience getting jobs, what have you found to be the most valuable thing? Is it your experience or your marks? Joey, you?
Well, I think the overarching thing is you want to do the best at everything you do. You should always try to excel at your grades. Volunteer is very important, and just be your best self. And yeah, depending on what specifically you're going to want, like if you're the smartest person in the world and you go for a job and you don't have those other skills or knowledge or experience or people skills, it doesn't matter how smart you are or how much you have on paper. So it's a kind of the whole package, and again, just doing your best in every avenue.
I would agree that I think it's really about the skills that you bring to the table, not so much the GPA that you have at the end of the day. I personally, on my resume, do not list my GPA. I don't think that's what's relevant. I know a lot of people probably don't, because it is the skills. And I'll just reference in my work, I have individuals that report to me who actually have master's degrees, and I do not have a master's degree. But because I have the relevant experience and the appropriate skills that are required, I have the ability to just continue to advance. So I would say that the marks don't so much matter in the end.
And also, like, knowledge is useless unless it's applied. So can you take that knowledge you learned and apply it to what they need you to do?
Yeah.
One of the biggest things that I found was having the ability to connect with people. So if you go into whatever role you're in, whatever interview you're going into, networking role, whatever it is, if you don't have the ability to go up to somebody and connect with them, start a conversation, seem genuine, then it's almost a negative for you. You have to be able to represent yourself very well and connect with other people. If there's any skill that I would say that anybody should work on, it's that ability to connect with other people.
Okay, and that can be even more important than marks.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Risha?
I just wanted to add, I absolutely agree with everyone that's spoken. In terms of, for me, I knew I always wanted to continue my education, and so getting into a master's program was quite difficult. And so I looked for programs where they didn't just focus on marks, and they looked at what was your experience, what volunteer work did you have, who you are as a person, and I think that was amazing. So it's not about the grades for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just gotta say, like, I think volunteering is a great way to get your foot in the door. But then once you're in that door, I mean, you have to have the smarts and the brains to excel and really push through and get to the next level. So yeah, I mean, the actual GPA itself doesn't matter, but it's the work ethic. And if you don't have that work ethic in your schoolwork, you're probably not gonna have that work ethic in your work life as well. So it's about having that right work ethic and instilling those values in yourself early on.
Mm-hmm. And as you are working to present yourself to potential employers with your resumes and cover letters and interviews and that kind of thing, there's a lot of support available at the Career Center. So we can help you translate, what you have to offer into something that will be looked at by an employer. Who else has a question? Who's next? Yes, right in front.
This one's for Mr. Bianchi. What sacrifices were you referring to when you were saying you had to make some sacrifices?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I learned early and I heard from others early on, while working in the sporting industry, you have to realize that you're working when your friends are playing, kind of thing. So, I mean, that Saturday night when your friends are all at the bar watching a hockey game, you're gonna be working because you're working at the hockey game. So those are some of the sacrifices you have to make, and it's about making sacrifices that will help get you on the right career path. So I mean, like, one thing that really helped me get to where I was and helped me get all the experience I've got now is I had a full-time job, an opportunity. I played varsity soccer here at York. When I graduated, I then had a full-time job as competition coordinator and all that stuff for a soccer club and everything. But the coach here then called me after about a year later saying, do you want to come on board on the coaching staff and help the team out? And he was looking for some help. And I decided to quit my job and came here as a coach, and I made a lot less money. But that experience, it was invaluable. So we went on, we won the national championship that year. We were the best team in the country by far. And being part of that team and being part of a winning program like that, dollars and cents, it's completely different. And just being part of a winning program was really what helped me get my foot in the door for my next jobs, like at the Ontario University Athletics Office, and then from there here at York, and now other opportunities I've had with FIFA and stuff like that. So I made that sacrifice. I took that chance where I was giving up a lot of money, but it was something I wanted to do, and I thought it would look great on my resume. And it happened that, yeah, we won the national championship, winning program. So it was an invaluable experience.
So you were talking a lot about getting your foot in the door. So I have a question for all of the panelists. What common attributes do you notice in the people that are hired into entry-level positions where you work? So what sort of common skills or personality attributes do they have, or educational attributes? You want to start, Risha?
Sure. I think that because I work within the mental health field, it is a very challenging field to work in, and there is a lot of burnout that can happen. So I think a lot of the colleagues that I've worked with that have lasted within this field, they have a sense of calm, a very easygoing, relaxed sort of approach. And if you have that, you can be adaptable to anything. And I think that obviously having a sense of dedication is also something I've noticed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Is anyone actually thinking about being a trainer or anything? Yeah, a couple?
Yeah.
Okay. For me, the biggest thing is just walk the walk. You got to lead by example. The question is, would you hire yourself? You got to be fit. You got to be healthy. Inspire your clients, right? That's the biggest thing. Second to that is just education. Like I said, I've invested so much. There's so much information. Like that's the best and worst thing about my job is it's so infinite, like health, right? So you can never know enough. But that's also part of what fuels me too, because I love learning, taking different certifications. And the biggest thing is, again, that connection we talked about that someone mentioned is that's what personal training means, is being present with your client, engaging with them. There's there's lots of examples of trainers are looking at their cell phone, texting someone while their clients sweating their guts out. That's not engagement, right? So being present, being passionate yourself, and just educated. And it's not easy to make a good living as a trainer. Anyone can be a trainer, but to make a living at it is a different ballgame. But it can be done as long as you're persistent and just apply the same things it takes to get your degree done. Same thing.
So I would definitely say one of the first ones that you need to be personable. In the organization that I work with, it's a lot of going out and connecting with individuals in the field. And to be able to effectively do so, you need to want to be out and talking to those people and seeing what they're all about. And to get the type of information that you require from these people, you really need to engage with them and create a rapport. So I would definitely say personable is one. In my field, I would also say the ability to multitask. There is a lot going on, and at times I'm juggling quite a few different deliverables all at once, and they all were due 2 days ago. So it's being able to really apply your skills and get everything done all at once, even though they're all sort of with different projects and relate to different components of the organization. Another one I would say is just being passionate. So the organization that I work with is a not-for-profit organization, and not-for-profit organizations sometimes mean that you don't make as much money as you could if you were out in the corporate world. So you definitely need to feel like you're really making a difference and wanting to be involved. And I definitely have that passion, and I love doing what I do. Getting up every day and going to work, I look forward to. And if you're getting up every day and you're not loving what you're doing, then maybe it's time to look elsewhere.
One of the things that we look for, as I mentioned before, is that ability to connect. Because in this job, especially entry level, you're going to be working a lot with the employees. You're going to be traveling to different places. You won't necessarily have a manager there with you every day, or even another coworker with you every day. You have to be very self-directed. So you need to know what it is you need to do for that day, prioritize, and go do it. So we really look for people who are able to connect with people, people who are driven, people who are willing to learn, and who are energetic because you just hit the ground running. And we do put a lot of things on your plate where, you know, if you're that person who's a go-getter and you can go and do things on your own, we expect you to be able to do projects on your own, of course, with guidance from the rest of the team, but there's that expectation that you can work independently and that you can go and do these things. We'll provide the resources, you go do it and get it done.
Yeah, and I would say, as mentioned earlier, adaptability is a big thing. A lot of times when you take a job and you go into it, you don't always end up doing exactly what you were hired to do and stuff, so being able to be adaptable, learning on your feet, and being able to work unsupervised kind of thing. So if someone gives you a task to do, they're expecting you to get it done to the best of your ability, and yeah, providing them with feedback if you have issues with it. But it's all about being adaptable and a quick learner and commitment, really commitment. Like a lot of, especially like in my industry, sometimes the days are really long days. On a game day, like a Toronto FC game day, for example, the game might be at 7 o'clock at night. Staff would show up at 8 a.m. in the morning and would be there until about 1, 2 o'clock the next morning. So, I mean, yeah, it's 14, 15, 16-hour days, but that's the role you signed up for, so get used to it.
Can I answer that one? I was actually in that position. So as I mentioned before, I worked as a kinesiologist, and this is prior to before it became a registered health professional. So back then you're making a little bit more than minimum wage, but I loved the job. I loved working with people. I loved the exercise prescription. I loved it. And then, as I mentioned, I was also looking for another job because it didn't offer me enough hours. And I was looking for another job, and I found Rogers. They offered me a position. And then I had another doctor who was very well known, who in the rehab world, and he offered me a position as well. And at this time, I'm like, do I go for the position that I know and that I know I'm gonna love, but it's crappy money? Or do I go for another position, better money, but I have no idea what it's gonna be like because I've never actually worked in health and safety before? And for me, it wasn't about the money. And when it came down to it, I figured at 25, I'm gonna have 40 more years to make a lot of money. So why not try something I've never done before, see what it is, see what it's like, and just go for it. I can always change my mind, switch careers, do something else, and I went for health and safety. And it's been a good decision for me, not just because of health and safety in itself, but because it opened so many more doors. I would have never thought graduating from university that I would be thinking about going into organizational development. I wouldn't be thinking about training. I wouldn't be thinking about ergonomics or being able to, do a corporate ergonomics program. What does that mean? I had no idea. So I would say, look at what you want to do. Think about what you like to do and where you see your future. You can always change your mind. You can always go in another direction. You can always make a U-turn, whatever you like to do.
Yes. So again, speaking on my experience, just you can't go wrong following your passion. You never know where it's going to lead. Like, don't even think about money because there could be so many doors that you can't even think of that will open, and like 8, 10 indirect steps from that. Again, that's one thing Afghanistan taught me is like money doesn't mean anything, materialism doesn't mean anything. It's family, friends, like the things that make you fulfilled and happy is going to again make you fulfilled. Achievement and fulfillment are two different things. So just remember that, and just maybe it requires some introspection. Find out what really does resonate with you, what makes you happy. Get more specific with you is just, find out if you have some ideas about people that this guy does this or this is the career I want to do. Connect with someone, offer to buy them lunch. People love talking about themselves. Find out exactly what they do because a lot of people, they spend 30 grand on a degree thinking they know what they want to do, and they actually step foot in the first day of the job and they hate it. They have no idea what they actually do. So whoever, what you think, that this sounds cool, find someone that does it. Follow them around for the day. Buy them lunch. They'll be happy to do it. And then you can find it more if that is actually what you want to do.
And I'd agree as well that I think it's really important to kind of follow your passion. As I said, I work in the not-for-profit sector, so I don't make nearly as much money as maybe I could be if I was working in the corporate world, but I absolutely love what I do. Like every day I wake up and I'm excited to go to work. And if you're not excited to go to work or you're just dreading it, like that's going to create, a whole nother slew of problems that the money isn't going to solve. There's going to be burnout. You're just going to be unsatisfied. Your well-being might suffer. So I think that it's really important to just kind of follow your passion and go from there. And everyone here is still so young that you really do have the opportunity to try some things out first and see where you end up. And the second question, which no one yet has addressed, but I will speak to it. So when I graduated and I first started working, as I mentioned, in the not-for-profit sector, I was making about $35,000 a year, which I guess that would have been good 7 years ago. So I'd imagine that the market has gone up a little bit since then. But I wasn't in it necessarily for the money at that point. Like I was in it because I wanted to get the experience so that I could go somewhere else. And it just so happened that I was decent at my job. I really loved what I did, so I've stuck with it. I've since been kind of moved my way up, and I'm in a different position now than I was 7 years ago. And I still love what I do, and thankfully the pay has increased. But sometimes it is a bit of a challenge for sure when it comes to money.
I was in a similar situation where I was in my first year trying to figure out what I really wanted to do. And I knew I wanted to work obviously in healthcare, but I didn't know what. So I was thinking about pharmacy. And then I actually spoke to a few pharmacists, shadowed, and then I realized I hate this. And so I started to look at what is it I really like. I love working with people, that one-on-one interaction. And so I explored some jobs, and lucky enough I was working at a rehab hospital my first year, and I shadowed everyone there, a massage therapist, a physio, and when I saw the OT, I was like, that's it, I fell in love. And so I strongly advise shadowing, and like you said, walk around with that person and see what it is like. And initially when I first started working as an OT, I wasn't getting paid much. It was like $43,000. But it wasn't about the money. It was about the experience, and I loved what I did. And then you just have to keep networking and kind of moving on up ahead, and doors will automatically open. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say with regards to your first question, I've always done just what I've been passionate about, not really like where the money was, but obviously you want to make more and more money. So I've invested myself in terms of my time into opportunities and education that would help me get to the next level and keep moving up. So when I could be taking time off, vacation or whatever, like I take on other jobs, I volunteer here or do this, do that, to help me get more experience and make my resume look that much better so I can continue to move up the ladder and I can continue to make more and more money. And with regards to the second question, when I was interning at MLSD, it's pro sports, it's the big time, it's it's sexy, all that stuff. But everyone starts off at an entry-level job there, and entry-level job there is either through internship or ticket sales or working in event coordinating early on, like really low down the ladder. And the pay isn't good at all, and it's because, listen, if you don't want the job, there's 10 guys behind you that want it instead, because it's such a high-demand company. So I learned while I was there, I'm like, this isn't, it's not worth it really. And so that's why I knew the better opportunities existed in the university sporting world and even some of the amateur sporting organizations. So yeah, I spent 6 months there interning, doing all that stuff, but I never pursued any full-time opportunities after that because I just didn't see it worth it to me, because their starting job there, you're starting at about $28,000 to $30,000 a year. And you've got to work a lot of hours, long days, like I mentioned already. So I knew right then that I wanted to get more into where I am now with the university sector and stuff. So that's my advice.
And can I just add one more thing?
Of course.
And also, it's not always necessarily about the money. There's also other perks that come with the job that you need to take into account. So for example, like the location of the job. So where I work right now is very close proximity from my house. I don't need to spend 2 hours a day commuting, which is something that I don't want to do. There's also, just other perks that kind of come with it in terms of, the hours of work. How many hours a week are you going to be working? I have at my work flex time hours, so I have capabilities of coming in anytime between 7:30 and leaving at 6. So it's just the opportunities that might not be related directly to the amount of money that you're bringing in at the end of the day, but that could make a really big difference on how much you enjoy being at that job.
Okay. And both Joey and Risha, you mentioned something that I think is really interesting, shadowing someone, or Joey mentioned having meetings with people and talking to them about what they do. So I just want to mention, I don't know if everyone here has heard about our TASTE program, but it's Take a Student to Eat through the Career Center, and we set you up with an alumnus or an alumna who's doing something that you're interested in, and it's an information interview over lunch. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can talk to me afterwards. But it's one more way that that you can talk to someone about what they do before you do it. And of course, you could set these meetings up on your own, but it's one thing to read about a career in a book or see it on TV, and it's another thing entirely to talk to someone who actually does it. So thank you for mentioning that.
My role, I see it as being an influencer. So I don't tell people what they should do. I don't tell leadership what they should do. I suggest and I make strong recommendations about what I really think is a good thing for them to do. Not only that, but I want to make sure that when I go in front of people and I want to change something, I want to implement a policy, I want to do something different than what they've done before. It's one thing that I actually heard when I was here at York, and I applied to a lot of things. One of the things I heard here at York, and it was make it so that it's hard for them to say no. So get your ducks in a row. Talk to the people you need to talk to. Make sure that you understand where the other side is coming from, because they're going to ask some tough questions. Make sure that you're prepared to also maybe bend a little bit in what you're going to be presenting. But it's not about going in there and getting people to break down and say, yes, you're right, we're going to do this. It's all about influencing things, and influence takes time. It's something that you build relationship, you build trust with other people, you build a reputation that you can do a good job and you know what you're talking about. So it's not something that happens right away. You have to accept that part of it. But it's something that if you go in there and you have the passion and you come with the right ideas and you understand where the other team or the other participant is coming from, then it's something that you can absolutely create change. And usually you can build momentum. So the faster you can start building faster change than you probably thought you would have been able to if you just make sure that you keep an open eye about everything.
Yeah, and policy is one of those really tricky areas where it is quite a very slow process. Mm-hmm. And some of the work that my organization does is advocacy work and advocating for certain policies. And sometimes it is quite tricky. And when we have policies that we've been advocating for many years, and sometimes it's hard because there are a lot of players involved. I think it's really important that if you are going to advocate for policy or be interested in that area, that yes, you're definitely passionate, that you have a good network base, because the more people that you can kind of rally together and the more organizations that you can get to come on board with your idea, the better it is to be able to influence those policymakers. But at the same time, you also need to prepare that potentially things aren't going to go your way. And unfortunately, that's just how it sometimes works. With policy, while you might think that it's the greatest idea ever and that this needs to be around for everybody, not everyone agrees with you, and sometimes it's a bit more complex than that with all the stakeholders that are involved. So yeah, policy is an interesting area. Maybe we can chat after. Yeah.
Okay. And before we go into the mix and mingle portion of things, I just want to ask the panelists one more thing. If you could give the people in this room one nugget of career advice before they leave today, what would it be? Would you like to start?
Am I going to start? Okay. I would say volunteer. Get out there, get the experience, so that when it comes time that you've graduated and you're ready to enter the workforce, your resume is full already. And in comparison to your competitors that might be going up with you for the same job, that you already have all of the skills that are relevant to that organization. So I would say just get yourself out there and start building some skills.
Yeah, I've kind of beaten it to death a bit, but the whole passion thing, if you don't know what makes you passionate or happy, figure it out, because it's a long, long road if you're at a job you don't like. Second thing is success is on the other side of your comfort zone, right? So remember that. That's when you're going to be most successful, when you're scared, right? So remember that. If you're scared, then do it.
For me, I mean, there's a lot I could say, but I think for me, the biggest thing that has helped me in my career is networking, talking to people, talking to other professionals that do the same thing you do or in the same industry. When I started working, unfortunately, it was right after the recession. There were absolutely no jobs. And I got my first job because of networking, and it was just going out talking. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say be open. Be open to opportunities. Be open to meeting people, going places. Don't stick just in Toronto. If you can, go other places, other parts of the world. Go with a consulting, try to work for a consultant company that will take you wherever. Just be open to the experiences, be open to the things that are out there that could possibly launch you to another part of your career that you had absolutely no idea was there. So if I could say anything, just be open to all your experiences.
Yeah, and I would say just push yourself to limits you haven't been before. Keep good and close connections with all those you've been across already, because you'll never know when you guys will cross paths again. So it's part of that networking thing, but also about not burning too many bridges. And I would say in the jobs that you do have, no matter how small it might be or minor you might think they are, just take pride in the job you do. Give it your all, because you never know, who's paying attention, and it'll instill good values in you, and help that work ethic get up there.
Good one. Thank you.